Hello guys and gals, and welcome back to another episode of Haunted Gaming. This time we take a look at, once again, another Pokemon creepypasta, but a different type of Pokemon creepypasta called Tristan. So that being said, let's dive right into this creepypasta. Gotta catch 'em all. In the year 2000, there was a 14-year-old boy named Tristan Clyde. He was a British citizen living in Norway with his two parents, two brothers, and his caretaker. Tristan was born with a cornucopia of maladies. His most obvious was that he was born albino. His skin was a sick, chalky white. To look at him, you might think his skin would leave something behind on your clothes if you touched him. His eyes were blood red with streaks of white around a pure black iris. One would almost believe he had no lips. The way the white tone of his flesh extended all the way to his mouth, almost all the way to the teeth. His one redeeming feature was the shape of his face. He had a baby face, and the contours of his eyes and cheeks were a portrait of kindness and love, which he did. He loved all things, some a little too much. Tristan's most invasive malady was severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, specifically in the form of collecting. Tristan's parents were medical researchers and always did the most they could possibly for their own son, include spoiling him by spending vast amounts of money. Tristan collected and owned nearly every stamp ever produced by England. He had replicas of the some he didn't have, even a ridiculously expensive reproduction of the Ulster Avenger, one of the only two penny blacks to ever be printed in orange. Along with stamps, he collected books and photographs. He collected rocks, he collected bugs, and in the year 2000 he was given an opportunity to catch 'em all. Tristan was 14 years old and not allowed to play video games. Even television was a bad idea. He became too focused. It occupied him too ferociously. It was bad enough to be forced to spend most of his time inside, let alone allow him to rot his already fragmented mind with addictive technology. Unfortunately for Tristan's brother, that rule applied to them too. To their great fortune, technology was changing, improving, and becoming mobile. It wasn't anyone else's great fortune, however. Tristan's oldest brother was the one who brought the Game Boy into the house. He would hide in his room playing it all night with headphones on. It was Tristan who first discovered this, because one night while using the washroom he noticed his brother's door was open, and was once able to slip inside without being heard. Due to the headphones, he would have stood there, watching the magnificent little screen all night. Except his 24-hour caretaker noticed his extended absence and retrieved him. Tristan couldn't forget that flashing screen, the bright colors, but most of all, those words. The words that ran through his mind like a freight train, painfully loud and unstoppable. It ran through his mind so much that it hurt. Gotta catch 'em all. Tristan immediately began silently working on a plan to steal the Game Boy. And with an OCD mind, when you decide to do something, you do it. And quickly. Tristan had no trouble at all getting one of the portable phones from the main living room of the house, and he found it quite easy to not be seen by his caretaker. The hard part was sounding like a girl. He planned to need to use the washroom all night. He planned to need to use the washroom at night. And as soon as he was inside, called the second line of the house and asked for his older brother, but in a girl's voice. Seeing as he was 3 years older, nothing got his attention like a phone call from a girl. To his surprise, it worked, and he barely changed his voice at all. Being 14 was an advantage for him, and he heard his brother run down the staircase. Tristan moved fast. He exited the bathroom after flushing the toilet and quickly retrieved the Game Boy and headphones. He managed to get it back into his room unnoticed. The beauty of the plan was that his brother would never have heard him open and close the bathroom door, and video games being forbidden, he'd never rat himself out. Tristan had a 24-hour caretaker, so the blame was secretly placed on his older brother. Tristan didn't sleep that night. He was too excited. Being a vigilant reader of the news, including the weather, he knew it was going to be an overcast. It was going to be gloomy. It was going to be one of the days he was allowed outside. As soon as he woke up, he set his plan in action. Luckily, it was Wednesday, his free day, where he was allowed to change his schedule and have more control over his routine. He immediately opted to go outside. He was granted permission to do so under the condition he brought a chaperone, as he was prone to distraction and could easily get lost. This was another seemingly convenient turn of fate. He demanded his brother take him. He knew that he would instantly start arguing about the Game Boy as soon as they were out of the house. Because of this, they agreed. Tristan's older brother wanted the game back, and was waiting for the opportunity to bring it up. They left the house and headed for the park. It was a short walk, but the moment that they were behind the hedge that separated the driveway from the road, the argument began. Tristan simply kept walking. Tristan had to wear a hood when he goes outside, and glasses as well, so nobody even noticed the headphones. Tristan walked until he could hear his brother's voice. He walked farther still. He walked until he felt a reassuring pattern of wood under his feet. The constant sound and frequency in the contact his foot made with the wood comforted him. He really had no idea where he was. For his mind's eye, he was too focused on playing the game. The chance to catch them all. This was the last I heard of Tristan. You see, he had another compulsion. He wrote letters to me. We became pen pals when we were 7. He wrote me a letter every day, compulsively, every day. 2,563 letters. He told me everything about himself, and I read it all. His last letter was in his jacket pocket. From what they could tell, he was malnourished before he died. The tip of his thumbs, once he located his arms, were pen sores. One was showing bone. But it's hard to say whether this was caused by his excessive playing of the Game Boy, or if it was damage done when he was hit by the train. Either way, they never found the Game Boy. I'd explained the expression that Tristan had across his face when they found what was the rest of his body. But by that point, Tristan didn't have a face anymore. So, that was Tristan, a story about a sheltered child who discovered video games and died at the hands of a train. Rather, the wheels or tracks of the train. This creepypasta comes with a security still, by the way, of an individual, most likely Tristan, walking onto the train tracks, playing the Game Boy, most likely. Now, the story doesn't follow the usual Pokemon or gaming pasta tropes of really acquiring the game from some questionable establishment or some questionable person, Bootman Bill, but rather a plausible scenario of an anti-media household with the older sibling or siblings handling some contraband stolen by our protagonist. And I really like this because it's a setup that's very, very plausible, like 95% super plausible. And I've seen it firsthand in my own eyes, like it happening. Now, it was an interesting story. It used obsessive-compulsive disorder to an extent. This pasta used it. And as a person, I myself also have OCD, so I definitely agree with the, if you want to get something done, like if you really want to get something done, you do get it done. Using that whole gotta catch 'em all phrase and that phenomenon really showed that obsessive side of the game and how invested you really can get. I mean, you do see people that can get invested with Pokemon. I myself, when I was much younger, got invested with Pokemon with the can you get 'em all phrase. Just that whole concept of catching everything. Now, you take that and you mix it with the OCD and you get this very good amount of backstory that establishes our protagonist well. Then we see the game being stolen in a pretty clever manner on Tristan's part, to be honest, and I sort of chuckled when I read that too. And then we get shown this other viewpoint towards the end, similar to the Revolution creepypasta, where where in this creepypasta the pen pal unfortunately notifies us of Tristan's demise. Why he didn't have a face anymore intrigues me, and the fact they never found that Game Boy also intrigues me too. It's an ending that leaves us on this questionable note rather than a facepalm worthy note, and that's a very good thing. It could have ended in a lot of bad ways. Again, it's pretty bad that Tristan unfortunately died due to this train, but it's different from other creepypastas and Pokemon pastas. Even though elements do cross over, it's still something you should go check out, links in the description below. All in all, I really like this, and it was interesting all the way through, and I gotta ask the question, what would you rate this and what would you change to make it better? This has been another episode of Haunted Gaming, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I'm out.